Hi, welcome back. I am M.V. Moran. I'm your teaching artist today, and you can call me Mrs. Moran. This is lesson 2 of 4, so I'm really glad that you're back. And today we're going to be covering how to draw ordinary objects. We're going to be drawing an orange and a fork, and we'll probably review a spoon if we have time, but we have a lot to cover today. You might say, Mrs. Moran, drawing a spoon or an orange or a fork is super easy. Wait, it's not super easy. There are some tricks and some techniques that I'm going to talk about that's going to help you draw ordinary objects and find out just how much fun it is. Okay? But the first thing we like to do before we get back into the studio is our breathing exercises. I call it mindfulness or breathing exercises. You can choose whichever word that you like. So what I do is I sit down either on the floor in my studio, crisscross applesauce, or I sit in a chair with a table. I put my hands on the table. I do look around and make sure that I'm not going to hit anything and that I'm super safe. So I'd like you to do the same thing. All right, let's get safe. Now close your eyes. Take in a deep breath through your nose, out through your mouth. I typically do this 3 times. So that was 1, 2, 3. I open my eyes. My body has calmed down. My mind is engaged. I know that it's time to draw. I'm reminding my body this is the time that we draw. But I also like to get my hands ready and my shoulders ready because you kind of draw with your whole body. Anyway, I do. So I'd like you to maybe do a couple of shoulder shrugs. Take your shoulders, go back. If it hurts, stop. Don't do anything that hurts. Take your shoulders, go back again. Shoulders, go back again. And then stretch out your arms. Stretch out your fingers. All right, you can do some stretches. I like to do a couple little twists. And I know that I'm ready to draw. I'm ready to be in the studio. So now it's time to get your art supplies, okay? So you want to get your sketchbook. This is a travel size sketchbook, or your big sketchbook, or your 100% copy paper sketchbook, whichever one that you made. If you say, Mrs. Moran, guess what? I did not make a sketchbook. I missed session 1. That's okay. Just grab some copy paper for now, okay? Go back to session 1 and you will learn how to make awesome sketchbooks. I made this sketchbook last time. I'm going to use it today. I am not going to use Monet's travel sketchbook because that's Monet's. And I'm not going to use my 100% copy paper sketchbook because I've already filled it up. And so I'm going to use my fancy one. I'm going to grab my crayons. You can grab pencil, marker, whatever you like. Now, don't forget, if you use markers, I want you to put a piece of paper in between the other paper so that the markers don't go through. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, I explained in session 1. Okay? All right. So now we have our sketchbook. We have our crayons. And today what I want you to do is I want you to grab only your secondary colors. Now remember we talked about the color wheel in session 1, in class 1. And we talked about primary colors. Primary colors are red, blue, and yellow. And the color wheel is the basis of all of color theory. So Sir Isaac Newton developed the color wheel in 1666. It's been around a long time. It's based on 12 colors, 12 hues. And we go, okay, red, blue, and yellow make up all colors. All right. So we want secondary colors. That means there's 2 colors that combine. So red and yellow make orange. And blue and red make violet, or I say purple. I still say purple. I'm on the purple. And blue and yellow make green. So grab your secondary colors, green, purple, orange. Grab those. And I want you to do a warm-up. I made a warm-up in my studio the other day just to show you, just to give you some ideas. So I took my orange and made rectangles. I took my purple and made triangles. And I made some more triangles and circles all over the place. I really filled up my page. And also with warm-ups, I think it's a good idea to maybe spend a little bit more time than just 1 or 2 minutes. I typically warm up for a good 5-10 minutes. And also in my journal, when I'm journaling, when I want to combine my drawing with writing, I might write something about how I'm feeling. I'm not much of a poet. I do like to write quotes that I read. I will write those down sometimes, but today I'm just going to write how I'm feeling. And today, and I like to write all over the place, kind of wild. Today, I am super happy to be teaching. And I might even write that. And it's like, okay, that's really cool. And sometimes I even put the date. So I might put April. I have no idea what the date is. And so I'll put 2021. And then I'll look back at my sketchbook and go, wow, I was super happy that day. And I used secondary colors. That's really cool. So if you've finished your warm-up, that's great. If you need a minute, take a little time, get yourself organized. I'm going to get myself organized. So now I am going to get my sketchbook out. And as you can see, I put my name and I put the month that I started my sketchbook. And I said, please return. And you might think that's silly to write, please return. I've lost sketchbooks and I've had them returned because the person said, well, you wrote, please return. I was like, thank you. So that was really great. So what I would like you to do now is either get, if you can, if you have it, an orange and a spoon and a fork. If you say, Mrs. Moran, I do not have a spoon or a fork, watch the demo. You can use my orange, or you can grab a different object. It's fine, no big deal. So when I set up a still life, and that's what this is, when I set up a still life, I get a piece of paper, piece of white paper, and I set the object on the piece of paper, and I'll tell you why. I can see it better. I can see the shadows. I can see where the sun is hitting it or the light is hitting it. I can see the shadow and I can see all around it. It makes it much easier. I'll show you the difference. Much more difficult to see the shadow. I'm not even sure you can see the shadow. I barely can, and I'm really close to it. So there we go. Then I get my supplies out. Today I'm going to use crayons. Crayons typically come in a paper box. I'm not crazy about that because I have went to many classrooms and found these boxes on the floor squished with crayons inside. It's no one's fault. That just happens. Sometimes they fall. So I like to put my crayons in a plastic container. And I like yogurt, so it works out perfect. And this way, if it falls, they typically don't break. So now I got my crayons, and now I'm going to choose my palette. And what I mean by palette is I'm choosing the colors I'm going to use to draw this orange. So yeah, I am going to use orange. Sure, why not? There's orange in there. But there's more than orange. There's some dark orange in here. There's actually a little green in here. And you're like, Mrs. Moran, there's no green. Yep, there is. I can see it. Look at that. That's green. And I see a little purple right here. I see a little purple right here. And then for the shadow, oh, I do see a little yellow. Yep. And I see a little green. Yellow, green. Yep, I sure do. Great. But also, I'm going to think about my shadow. And what I like to use for shadows is the opposite or complementary color to my main color. So my main color is orange. I'm looking here on the color wheel. Orange. The opposite or complementary of orange is blue. So it's right across from the color wheel. Red, it's green, okay? And so I like to look at that, and blue is orange, yellow is purple or violet. And so I'm going to use blue in my shadow. It's really going to make the orange stand out. Your complementary colors typically make the colors really pop, really stand out. So grab your sketchbook. And the first thing I like to do is I like to think in my head, I wonder what an orange looks like. And I go, oh, this is what an orange looks like. It looks like a circle. Well, kind of, but circles roll. This orange is definitely flat because it is not rolling around. So what I do is I go, I even feel the orange. This is not a complete circle, and it's pretty heavy. It's pretty solid. Yeah, it is. All right, so I'm going to have a starting place, my horizon line, if you will. I'll make that purple. And as you can see, I'm not going to be erasing. I'm not going to be erasing, as you can see. I am just going to draw. Here's my circle. This line here is this line here. I'm just pretending it's over here. And I darken it in. And then I kind of flatten because we know this orange is a little flat. It's a little flat because it's sitting just fine. It's not rolling around. And I go around and I go, okay, this is not a perfect circle. And then I add some lines to make it look like it's full. This is not a flat. It's not a sphere. It's not flat. It's full and round. So I put some lines here to show the fullness of the form. And then I go, it's darker in different places. So I go, okay, I have some dark orange here. And you're like, Mrs. Moran, that line showing. That's okay. It doesn't matter. We're sketchbooking. We do not need to fear having too many lines. We can enjoy the journey. We don't have to erase. And what I find out is when people start erasing, they just don't stop. They just do not stop. I see a little green here. So as you can see, I'm just playing around, mixing my colors. I'm layering colors. Super important to layer colors. A teacher once told me, oh, you can't layer crayons. I layer crayons. I layer the color on. And it works out great. Maybe the crayons are better nowadays than they were when I was a kid. So what I do is I go like this, and I even take a little purple and go over here. Maybe if I want to hide that line, if I'm really worried about it, I can. And now for my shadow, I take a little blue, because remember, I'm going to do the opposite. And then I take a little blue. Oh man, look how it makes that beautiful orange just pop. So I could do this all day, but I'm just getting a quick idea of how to use crayons and how to use color, because I really want to go over how to draw a fork with pencil. I call it graphite. You might call it pencil. So I am going to move a little bit ahead. Thank you, orange. You will be my lunch later today. My still life and my lunch. So I get a new piece of paper. And I was going to tell you, I typically fill up the entire space. But I'm going to start a new piece of paper because I want you folks to see it. Okay, so I take my fork. And I actually, in my studio the other day, I drew everything for you to make it a little bit easier. Plus, you could see it a lot better. So I typically grab a really dark pencil, really dark graphite pencil, so that I can see it, especially when I'm practicing. I like to really see what I'm drawing. So when I look at this fork, I go, wow, what is this fork made up of? Now, I've just drawn a bunch of geometric shapes in my warm-up. I drew rectangles and circles and triangles. So when I look at an object, I go, well, where does it start? What is it really made of in the terms of shape? Well, my orange is really just a circle. Okay, so this guy here is a rectangle. What? Yes, it's a rectangle. That's all this is a rectangle, a big rectangle, a little longer rectangle, and a bunch of little rectangles. And that's how I break things down. So when I see an ice cream cone, I don't go, oh my goodness, I can't draw that ice cream cone. It's way too complicated. Stop, hold on. It's a triangle and a circle typically, right? A upside down triangle with a circle. So that's what I do when I break down any kind of object I have to draw. Is it going to be perfect? I don't know. It might not be. So I like to go ahead and start with a rectangle. So go ahead, get your fresh piece of paper out, grab your graphite pencil, And let's start. If you have crayons, just use crayons. It's fine. We're not going to be erasing anyway. Look, no eraser. Okay, so I have my rectangle here. And then I go, okay, well, let's see. I made a rectangle. Now, inside this rectangle is another long rectangle. So I give myself some guides here. I'm going to say, well, actually, it's right here, and then all the way down is a line. Here, here, here. I just draw it. Okay, I did that. Ooh, it doesn't look like a fork. I don't know about this. Oh, okay. So then I'm going to draw this side of the rectangle and this side of the rectangle. And that's what I do. And it's a little bit fatter than this fork. But I don't have an eraser. I guess I'm just going to keep going. I'm not going to get stressed out. So you have your rectangle and then your longer rectangle. And then you go, well, it's not a perfect rectangle. There's some beautiful curvature here. So I'm going to draw some curvature here, some curves. And then right here, I kind of want this to be more curve here. So I'm just going to kind of do my own thing and make a little curve here. And as you can see, these prongs or tines get really close together. I guess these are called tines. I believe so, tines. That's what they're called, not tins, tines. These tines are close together. So I kind of make them close together. Then what I do is I go, okay, there's tines. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. These are just rectangles really kind of close together, kind of smushed together. So then I go and I make them a little close together. Oh, they're not perfect. Am I going to stop and erase? No, this is in my sketchbook. This is for me to practice. I can practice drawing this fork all day long. And then when I want to make maybe a painting, then I'll worry about erasing or make a fancy drawing. Then I'll worry about erasing. But right now, I just do not worry. That's later. And sketchbook time for me is not about worrying about anything. I have put everything. I don't even think about anything except to draw this fork. I don't worry about anything. Maybe I worry a little bit about having lunch later, though. All right. So then I go, okay, well, I curved this. I have my tines. They're not perfect. That's okay. That's what happens. Ooh, look at this one. I went ahead and I fixed my tines a little bit. I must have erased a little bit there. And then I darkened in some areas, like right here where it's really dark. I darkened it in really dark to make it really stand out. And then I darkened in here a little bit more. And see, I see dark right here and I see dark right here. So that's what I did. And then I go, does this fork look exactly like, no, it does not. I wonder what the difference is. Maybe size. Well, let's see. I'm going to use centimeters because I'm trying to learn the metric system, remember from last time. So I'm saying that this fork is about 19.5 centimeters. The real fork is about 22 centimeters. So it's not perfect. So I can either be really sad or I can say, you know what, this looks good to me. Or I can say, it's not really that great. I'm going to try it again. Because I think a lot of folks think that they have to make it perfect, and you don't. You just have to do your best. And doing your best means doing your best. That's all it means. I think a lot of people think they have to be perfect. I'm not perfect. So I'd like to talk a little bit about spoons, because everybody typically uses a spoon and a fork. And these are like the most ordinary objects ever. So what I'm saying is, like, let's look at a spoon. If you have a spoon, grab a spoon. If you're like, Mrs. Moran, I don't have a spoon, grab a crayon, grab a pencil, grab a cup, whatever you need. It's all good. I just don't stress out about things like that. So I always put, again, I put them on the white paper so I can see the shadow if I'm going to include it. I didn't include it on the fork because I was really focused on drawing the fork. It was really important for me. And I'll show you again. Look, I cannot even see the shadow. So the white paper really helps. So when I look at a spoon, I go, I think it's an oval. Remember, I'm thinking everything, and I could draw this really big if I wanted. I could take up the whole page. I'll take up a little bit. I'll make it a little bit bigger. It's typically just an oval and a rectangle. And I could even do something like really wild. And I could put a bunch of spoons on here. So I could say, oh, I'm going to draw a bunch of spoons. And they kind of start looking like people to me. Make a little spoon. So you could start out just by doing a bunch of circles and being like, you know what, this is as far as I'm going to get because this is really intimidating. I'm really overwhelmed, Mrs. Moran. Okay, I just want you doing circles and lines, circles and lines. And then you can start feeling more confident. I think a lot of people think they're not artists because they get overwhelmed. But being overwhelmed is nothing. I get overwhelmed all the time. And then I just take a little break. I come back to it. And sometimes things just don't work out and I'm okay. It's okay for things not to work out perfect. They just don't sometimes. And so I just go over the lines all the time and just keep thinking, tomorrow, I'm going to try this again. I'm going to try this again. I might even go to the studio this afternoon and draw the spoon and bring it back to you folks so you can see it. So you can say, oh, Mrs. Moran really tries. So that's important to me. I want you to keep drawing today. It's actually about time for us to end because I know we all have a lot to do today, a lot more to learn. So I would like to talk a little bit about what I would like you to do before the next time we meet again. I would like you to fill your sketchbook with ordinary objects. A car outside the window, a coffee cup, a teacup, a crayon, the yogurt container, stapler, anything. I don't care what it is. I would like you to draw. I want you to fill up your sketchbook. And if you feel intimidated, just start the circle or the square or the rectangle. Just start making it. And then go back to it the next day. A lot of times when I feel like, oh, this isn't working, I just go back the next day. And then I've learned something new. I'm ready to start again. So let's think what we learned today. We learned about warming up in our sketchbook, drawing an ordinary object. We also talked about the color wheel. And I'm going to tell you, this color wheel is super important. This color wheel is super important because when you go to art school, they're going to talk about it all the time. So if you learn your colors now and about color wheel and a little bit about color theory, art school is going to be super easy or easier. It's not easy. All right. Well, we are finished. I can't believe it. This is so fast. Thank you for joining me. Next time, my assistant Monet will be back and we're going to be playing an art game. I'm not going to tell you anymore. We're going to be playing an art game. Plus, we're going to talk a little bit about texture and detail. Okay? All right. Thanks so much for joining me. Have a great day.